Hey there. This afternoon, I want to talk to y'all about a conversation I had with a new friend of mine, Benjamin Rudolph. He's the lead of Teach Beyond new network called the Leap Network. It's a leadership and training network for churches in Germany to become missional minded. And we had a really great conversation, really like getting to know him. And we ventured into the realm of the DNA of the church. And I wanted to express today that the DNA of the church, in my experience, and this is not scientific necessarily, but in my experience, changing the DNA of the church or restructuring or moving the DNA in a different direction is very difficult, and trying to make a church more relevant to a new generation has I've come across with much difficulty, because it's just hard to move steer a moving ship. It takes a long time, and it can be even generations before a church would transform its DNA to reach or to become more helpful to the next generation and reaching the next generation particularly. So it's really hard to steer this moving ship. And so what my thought was is that for those churches that want the DNA shift, they want to move in a new direction, they want to become missional and do the things that Jesus would have us do here on this earth, is that radical impressions need to be made for those churches. It's really helpful for them, actually. They're shocked into movement and into the future. They're shocked into seeing that the youth culture is leaving the church, and that they're actually going. Yeah. So a radical impression can be made on the church now. The problem with that is that, will the church hear it? Will you be invited back? If you're a truth teller and prophetic, this could be a hard, you might have a difficult time being invited back, being received well, and that type of thing. So what you do, though, is you always focus people, and this is what Benjamin said. I was really impressed with his insight. You always focus people from who Christ is, Christology, to then move to missiology, which is the understanding of Christ's mission and the study of how he did things, and then to ecclesiology, how the church should do it here on this earth. So focus people in on Christ and what he has done and how he's done it. Yeah, it's really hard to move this ship, to get this ship moving in the right direction. And give you, for instance, my daughter Lydia. She's just learning how to talk, and she's saying all kind of stuff that doesn't really make sense, because you're still steering the ship to understand language and understand what she's saying. Like this week, she said, Daddy, she was washing her hands. She said, Daddy, I can get my ring wet. She has a brand new plastic ring. It's awesome. And she said, Daddy, I can get my ring wet because it doesn't make any noise. You're like, okay. Yeah, and she's still learning how to do things. Like she had this fixation, it's been about a month ago now, on her teeth. And she was just eating one day, and she said, Daddy, I can't eat this anymore because my teeth are too big. And so, she's just understanding language, and you're steering the ship. It takes a while. It takes a while to move the ship. But sometimes radical impressions can give help. So move from Christology to missiology to ecclesiology is really real deep and good insight from Benjamin. And then percentages, showing percentages of people leaving the church that of students who have graduated from a youth ministry program or from church. They're 18 years old, around that. They go off to university. Only 40% of those teenagers and students that we have in our churches currently will stay with the church. Now that's a appalling statistic, but it helps people understand that our modes right now of church life, within church life, are not keeping people with us as church goes on. So, and we don't need to focus our modality on Sunday mornings. So Jesus said something really particularly helpful to me, and I've kind of followed this over the years. No one puts new wine into old wineskins, for the new wine would burst the wineskins, spilling the wine and ruining the skins. New wine must be stored in new wineskins. Now he's talking to his disciples about fasting and about the movements of God as it goes within your fasting. So in other words, you have to have new forms, new functions, new things to hold the new move of God when you fast and pray, when God's pouring out His Spirit. You're going to have new systems, new things that will always hold the new movements of God. And that's something we can definitely apply to, like technology, for instance. Technology has advanced so much that I can speak to you via this form online and through other revenue avenues. That's a new function or mode that the Holy Spirit is using. It's a new wineskin to hold the new wine, the new movement of God. So our modality has to change with the movements of God. And that's as we lean into Christology, understanding Christ and who He is, understanding missiology then, and then we can apply it to church life and ecclesiology. I like, there's this idea that I've started to come up with called bait and switch. For me, a lot of times, and I'll do this, I'm so guilty of this myself, I will bait teenagers, particularly, for instance, with cool, slick youth ministry programs. We'll have a great band, or we'll have an awesome Halloween party, or we'll have some cool, fun event that lots of students come to, and I bait them with that event, and then we try to funnel them into the church, which is totally different than this event that they had come to. And it's a bait and switch is a technique that's used in marketing, where they bait someone with a good deal and then they switch the deal on the person when they come into the business, or when they come in, they switch the product, they switch the deal. It's not the same deal as they saw that was advertised. And that's a bait and switch. We're doing the same thing in the church. This is a difficult thing for me. So I almost wonder if it's ethical, actually, that we're drawing people in with something that the church is not really. And I'm trying to really pray through this, and even in my own ministries, that I don't use some modality that's not being implemented in the larger church. So kids come in and they get saved maybe, and they're coming into a youth ministry through awesome outreach programs, and they're awesome. They're great things. They're not bad in of themselves, but the church then switches the modality, and the youth pastor or whoever, the youth ministry, asks the person to sit in a boring church service, and they're kind of scratching their head like, this wasn't at all what I was envisioning. And my thing is, can't the wineskin be transformed? The modality, can't the mode be new? Can it be transformed into something else? Now, this is where the DNA of the church it's a hard ship to steer. And you have things like music and modality. Music is not seen very well, not easily accepted in a new direction. This is the big argument through the ages with the church. Cannot the music modality change? Is there scriptural evidence to show that a music style has to be the accepted style? And here's where the people in the part of the congregation who are older have to bend and say, the church is not for me. First of all, the church is for Christ. It's for Him, for His glory, for His purposes, and not my own. And then from there, a person can say, well, I actually want to reach down a generation. You always have to be thinking backwards. The church will die if you're not thinking backwards one generation. In other words, if the current generation isn't thinking, how can we reach the generation directly behind us? And then that generation thinking, how can we reach that generation directly behind us? So I like to call it gen to gen. So for me, I'm 36. I'm getting old in this, and so I can only reach a generation directly behind me. I can't hardly sometimes talk to 18-year-olds. I have to have people that I'm training that are 21, 22, 23, that they are closer to this and they can reach those that are nearest them in age. So the bait and switch problem, oh, there goes my words with friends. Bait and switch problem is definitely there in the church. Church ministries for years have used slick programs to reach people, and then they funnel them into the church life, and the church life is totally different than that slick program that they had. Why can't the church continue to be that? Now, it doesn't have to be a slick program, but it has to be something that is exciting. I mean, why can't the church be exciting? It's an exciting adventure where Christ lives among us in community. Now, this is an exciting thing. It has to be. Or else the bait and switch really is an unethical type of thing. So, yeah, the DNA of the church. How can we really think through the shifting of modality into a new direction, a direction that's Christ honoring, that's missional, that's meeting the needs of the people in our communities, and not focused on a Sunday event, but focused on community throughout our lives, not just on a Sunday. So, yeah, I'd love to hear back from you. If anybody wants to post comments or whatever, love to keep this dialogue going. Yeah, anyways, have a great day.